Saturday afternoon in Tijuana, Mexico. This human smuggler is about to help a family of 4 from Central America cross the border into the United States. Within a few seconds, the smuggler sits on top of the fence. The mother is helped up first.
Deme la mano. Pisen mi pie, ahorita la voy a subir. Agárrese. ¿Se alcanza a llevar mi pie? Vamos a eso. ¿Va a querer probar? Así es eso. Eso. Ahí está, ahí está. ¿Se puede? Échamelo. 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 Ahí no. ¿Se puede? No las manos. Después de ese para allá, no la suelto yo. Espérame. La mochila quítesela de volada antes de que se le vaya a atorar ahí. Vete, compa. Agárrala, güey.
A child follows. The father pushes while the smuggler hauls him up. Before the father joins them at the top. Their baby is passed through the fence. The whole process is over within 3 minutes. The family is on their way to meet US Border Patrol, where they hope to claim asylum. The smuggler, Pancho Lopez, has been doing this work for around 6 months. He charges $80 a person for his services.
Pues yo ahorita lo único que hice fue ayudarle a unas personas con sus hijos que ellos van cruzando para otro lado. Ellos van a pedir asilo. Y por lo visto creo que con la familia completa, si van con niños, creo que se los están dando. Yo le ayudo a las personas aquí a brincar y lo único que hago es brincarlos el primer cerco y ellos se entregan a migración. Me siento feliz, a gusto conmigo mismo también por haber podido ayudar a la persona.
A few kilometers away on the US side of the border, workers continue the process of building larger, taller fences or walls. When finished, this area will have 2 fences. The secondary fence on the US side will tower some 9 meters high. Border Patrol agent Justin Castrojon says reinforcements are desperately needed.
Here in San Diego sector, we right now are getting on an average right around 180 apprehensions a day. So mixed within that are going to be people who are actively trying to evade arrest, not be detected by Border Patrol agents, but a vast majority of those folks are the people who are trying to be apprehended by Border Patrol, are giving themselves up to Border Patrol agents for their asylum claim. The foot guides are also people who we would really like to apprehend. But a foot guide, smuggler, anything like that, a coyote, what they are kind of referred to as, they don't want to get caught. Their business is to smuggle people into the US and make a retreat back to Mexico before being arrested. So they're very good at what they do. But what people have to realize is that once you encounter or basically involve yourself, you enter into a human smuggling organization, you basically are putting yourself into a criminal organization, always vulnerable to those abuses.
Habla por fuera si quieres que otro te vocee.
Stories of abuse at the hands of smugglers are not difficult to find. Efren Galindo Guevara was deported from the US to Mexico following a minor charge. Desperate to see his children, Efren paid a coyote so he could return to the US.
I paid a coyote $3,500, and he crossed me. We walked for about 6 days, and he told us, "I'll be back. I'm gonna go use the restroom." And he took off. He never did return.
After capture by authorities, Efren was released back into Mexico, where he was then picked up by a gang and held for $10,000 ransom. But shortly after capture, the gang began to abuse Efren.
Put his damn foot behind my neck and the other one grabs my arm and pulls it all the way to the back. I thought he was trying to break it, but it wouldn't break. So what he did, he grabs a knife and boom, he skinned me. He cut all this off. Yeah, he filleted me. Man, I was screaming, cussing. I was asking God to. I even told him, I said, quit cutting me up, man. I said, if you gonna kill me, kill me. He goes, don't worry. He goes, you got 4 more days left. If your family members not seeing that money, believe me, me and myself is gonna put a bullet hole in your head. Later on that night, my eyes started getting dark. My hearing went just like that, and I didn't hear nothing no more.
Although his son sent the money, the kidnappers did not reveal Efren's worsening condition. Efren was dumped and left for dead.
They didn't tell him that they already hurt me or nothing. No, está bien, he's fine. We just need the money. And my son sent the money. They threw me back a truck. They took me like 20 minutes away from there. They threw me in the creek. That morning I woke up in December. This was like the 14th, 15th of December. I woke up and I was freezing. I was frozen, really. But I asked God. I asked him, I said, please take me. Get me out of this world, please. I said, I don't want to do this war anymore. After what I saw, I did fucking 3 years in Chihuahua. I said, I don't want nothing to do with this world, especially here in Mexico. I don't want nothing. I said, just kill me, send me, whatever. I said, I don't want to deal with this no more. I'm sick and tired. I made it to the highway. It was about 10, 11 at night. In the morning, and a little Volvo passed by. He was going about 110 miles an hour. And when they got to me, that's when they really saw me. He goes, what the, he told me in Spanish, ¿Qué está pasando? What happened to you? I said, I couldn't talk because my damn lips were stuck. And I tell him no. I said, I was trying to say hospital, hospital. I couldn't talk.
Further along the border in Arizona, a group sets off on a patrol. Each person is heavily armed. This is not the US Army, but Arizona Recon. The group was founded by Tim Foley, a former Army soldier and construction worker. He describes the group as an intelligence gathering operation. Others call it a militia.
Without borders, you end up losing your sovereignty, you lose your identity, you lose your culture, you lose a lot of things.
So I think they're taking this, hooking it up and around.
All we're seeing is the majority of it is drugs coming across and bad guys. I mean, multiple deported, trying to sneak back in. This is an area that it's brutal terrain, and this area, this is the spot where people who don't want to get caught come through.
Part about this is like right in here, because you see this?
Today's mission to sweep through a number of pathways just a few kilometers from the border. The group is organized, establishing a communication tower and armed in case they run into danger. If they encounter anyone, they look to detain them.
So we give them food, water, and medical aid, just like humanitarians would do, but the only difference is we don't allow them to keep walking because we don't know who they are, so we turn them over to Border Patrol.
So you want to hit this one?
One of those attending the camp is Steve Ronnebeck. He joined the group after his son was killed by an illegal immigrant.
January 22nd, 2015, my son Grant was working at one of the quick trips in Mesa. An illegal alien came in, wanted to buy cigarettes. He dumped a jar of change out on the counter, and Grant went to start counting the change. Evidently, he wasn't counting fast enough. This man said, "What, you're not going to give me my cigarettes?" Grant tried to explain to him, I need to count your change. This man pulled a gun. Grant did everything he was supposed to do. He went ahead and offered up the cigarettes, gave them to him. And at that point, this man shot Grant point blank in the face. It does help me with my grief. My goal is I don't want this to ever happen to another family. No parent should ever have to bury their child.
Working at cross purposes to Arizona border recon is Enrique Morones. Back in 1986, he founded the non-profit group Border Angels. The group undertakes water drops into the desert in the hope it will prevent migrant deaths. Morones has little time for militia groups.
So have these vigilantes, if they're so interested in law enforcing the border, they should join the Border Patrol. 11,000 people have died because of that wall. 11,000 people. The U.S.-Mexican border is 2,000 miles long. A third has wall. And Trump's not going to add any more wall, but he will have more deaths.
Back in Tijuana, Morena waits in a shelter. Fearing for her life and that of her son, she fled Honduras to seek safety and a new life in the U.S.
Porque mi hermano tenía un taller de mecánico y los soldados llegaron y le dijeron que les vendiera droga y mi hermano no quiso. En la madrugada lo fueron a sacar. Me dejaron lisiada de un pie ya. Y en la madrugada ya amaneció muerto mi hermano. Le pegaron 38 balazos. Sí, lo fuimos a enterrar y ya como yo los aruñé, les aruñé la cara. Y entonces cuando ya lo fuimos a enterrar, ellos me fueron a buscar. Me tuve como 4 días en una colonia que no había ni agua ni luz. Entonces yo me pensé, y yo no me voy a ir mejor para los estados a ver si...
Marina was apprehended at the border and was immediately separated from her son.
Me quitaron mi niño, me lo apartaron. Y ahí me estuve 4 días, me tuvieron y después despacharon a mi hermana para allá y a mí me despacharon para acá. Pero si usted dice que está desesperada, ahí lo castigan más. Bien preocupada porque si me regresan me van a matar. Sí, porque a mí me quitaron todo, yo mi casita la tenía. Y a mí ya la casa ya no está, ya la quemaron. Ya me la fueron a quemar.
In El Paso, Texas, a new shelter has been built in a former warehouse in order to cope with the recent influx of migrants. Those here have been released by US authorities as their asylum claims are processed. Ruben Garcia has sheltered migrants for some 4 decades. His organization relies entirely on private donations.
Right now, we're now at an average of about 1,000 to 1,100 per day that are being released. That's an awful lot of people. And they're being released primarily in El Paso, but also in Las Cruces. If you go back 3 or 4 months, it was probably 700, 800 per day that were being released. So that number keeps going up. We're concerned. Our commitment is to try and make sure that as families are released, that they're not released to the street. So that's a very challenging commitment on our part, but one that we hope to be able to live up to. I wish there was a way to reduce the fear that people have of refugees. You know, that it's a misplaced fear, it's a non-existent fear, it's a manufactured fear.
That is a view echoed by Fernando Garcia, director of the Border Network for Human Rights, an organization that documents the abuse and mistreatment of immigrants.
It has been unprecedented. I mean, we had not seen that with very few exceptions in American history. Children put in very bad conditions where they had died, whether they are in a Border Patrol station or in the ICE facilities. So we had seen a rhetoric that is playing with fear, specifically fear of immigrants. I mean, they had created this false rhetoric of what the threat is about, the way that they've been portraying them as criminals, invaders. So if a children dies, they say, well, it's their fault, it's the father's fault. And the U.S.-Mexico border is nothing but a declaration against immigrants, a declaration of war against immigrants, I would say.
Aquí están los elotes, mis, tengo vasos, tengo enteros, aquí no son incomparables.
Each day, long queues form at the El Paso-Juarez border. It can take hours for trucks to cross. Those delays are hurting the economies on both sides of the border, and El Paso Mayor Di Margo is among those calling for a solution.
It's been harmful. It's been harmful. I don't have definitive numbers. Approximately 15% of our retail trade consumers come from Mexico in the El Paso region. And then I turn around and 22% of our city's budget is sales tax revenues. So there's bound to be an impact, because they'll just say, well, I don't want to come across. I don't want to wait 2 to 5 hours in a car. I don't want to wait 2 hours in walking over. So it's going to have a detrimental impact. The bottom line is, this is a problem derived from Washington and their inaction over the last 30 years to rationally deal with immigration reform. I hold both parties culpable, both sides of the aisle, as I say, and both houses of Congress are responsible for this humanitarian crisis.
As the construction of higher walls continues, the likelihood of riskier border crossings increases, be it by sea or across more demanding terrain. There is also the possibility of going under the wall. This is the Galvez Tunnel. It was discovered in 2009 and was never completed. Lance Lenoir is the Director of Logistics at San Diego Border Patrol.
In San Diego alone, we have discovered 70 cross-border tunnels. 36 of those are of the sophisticated variety, like the ones we just saw. We've seen them as long as 3,000 feet.
This is probably the tallest tunnel I've ever been in. This is atypical. It's about 6 feet high, give or take. About almost 4 feet wide. You don't really see them that big very often in there, but mostly it's by hand. They still use pickaxes. They still use shovels. Well, we're trying to find out, see if we can detect this thing. I mean, technology is evolving as we speak in there, so we need something actually to see if that's actually true, if a system can actually do that. What better use to exploit this thing, right, than an actual tunnel itself, because that's exactly what we're trying to find. Not a simulation, not a mock-up.
The focus on the US-Mexico border looks set to continue, but questions remain as to whether building a barrier, a wall, will have the desired impact.
No sé, a lo mejor sí puede haber un poco más, se va a detener un poco las cosas, pero la raza ya saben cómo es, trata de buscar la forma de meterse. De una forma o de otra se mete, todos modos, por más que le pongan 1000 barreras, vamos a seguir ayudando a la gente. La gente siempre va a hacer eso porque sale huyendo de su pueblo, de sus lugares donde son.
If we have a fortified border wall, it's way superior to what we had before. It's going to serve our needs a lot better. It does have the key feature for us to see through. It's going to allow us to patrol the area that we were responsible for much quicker, much safer and more effectively here in San Diego.
Now since Trump is building the wall higher, they're gonna charge anywhere from 9,000 to 13, 14, 15,000 American dollars to cross.
And people would still cross.
They're gonna cross. It doesn't matter if you build it 3 stories, 5 stories. There's ladders, there's ropes, and if they can't get that high, they'll dig tunnels.
As long as there is a will and a way to get something from Mexico into here, you know, in secret, it's perfectly logical that there's already several in operation. As long as there's infrastructure on both sides in there, there's going to be a tunnel threat.
Well, I mean, a border will help some. It'll slow them down, but it's not going to stop them. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. You got to be down here all the time. You can't. I mean, the Border Patrol does the best they can, but they don't occupy the territory. They just drive in and drive out. They're basically visiting the area.
There isn't one solution. Number one, we need a barrier. We need a wall. We need a fence, something. Not just because it's going to stop some of what's coming across our border, but it's a deterrent. Number two, we need immigration reform. I mean, that's a huge deal. The third thing is I'll be honest, we need to close the border now. We need to close it. We need to put troops on the ground, boots on the ground, and close the border now till we can deal with the amount of illegals we already have.
Walls are not going to stop anybody. It just slows them down a little bit, and they cross over, under, and around the wall. So the wall is not the solution. That's a message of hate to the entire world.
We're a sovereign nation and we need to control our borders. That's a given. I've never changed my position on that and agree with that. I submit that we'll probably say we do need some physical structures. You cannot physically build a fence from El Paso to Brownsville, Texas. The geography of Texas won't allow it. And also, most of the land on the Mexican border in Texas is privately held. So it won't work.
The answer to the wall is that is not the solution, but it is the opposite to the solution. It signifies the worst of America. It signifies the entrenched racism and xenophobia embraced by this administration. And that is going to be the legacy of that administration, of this administration, Trump's administration, that the wall, it is the symbol of hate and racism.
The US-Mexico border has become a divisive issue. It looks set to once again be a key point in the upcoming US elections. But in the meantime, the impact the wall is having on people's lives continues. For some, it really is life or death.